Hi everyone, today we're going to do a couple quick videos that I have probably underestimated the knowledge of what's come out lately on hole saws. Okay, hole saws is as simple as it is. It is a round outside band of teeth. They basically take a saw blade, spin into a circle, weld it shut into a circle, and now we have a hole saw. So we're not going to get into brand or anything like that. We're going to get into type and what they should be used for. Okay, so you're going to see some names. This is kind of your all-around standard one that kind of does all kinds of wood and metal. So if you've got nails in the wood, you're trying to cut through metal, you're trying to cut through wood or things like this, stay away from stucco, block walls, things like that. They will just completely tear off in seconds. So this one is a bimetal hole saw. So this is designed to work on anything that is, softer metals and any kind of nail impregnated wood works really well. But they cut really, really slow through wood. So definitely think. And then the side holes are actually so you can get a screwdriver in there and pop them out. So you'll see all different kinds of versions of them, allowing you to kind of pop the wood out of there. So that's kind of our first idea. These are probably our cheapest. You want to stay away from the ones that are just standard high-speed steel. They will burn up in 10 seconds. You want the ones that are actually bimetal. So this is probably the number one thing you should have on your truck when you start, okay? So I always keep a full set of these on my truck. Then we gotta get into the next level of these guys, which is a carbide-tipped bimetal hole saw. These pretty much work for just about everything that you need to get through the day. These will work on stucco, they'll work on wood, they'll work on nail impregnated wood. That's kind of a real important thing. These guys are awesome. A lot more expensive, but will last 10 to 12 times longer, or 10 to 20 times is what it says on the box probably, than other guys. Definitely you can find these at your Home Depots, your Lowe's, all those kind of things. Different brands out there, but definitely having these little itty bitty tips are carbide tipped on the edge, just like your skill saw blades. If you guys ever remember high-speed blades where they'd burn up, you'd cut 3 2x4s and the thing was already smoking. And then we got carbide. Carbide is an amazing product that works really well. So this might be somewhere where you're trying to cut through a piece of stucco and then you hit the plywood behind it. This is always a good idea, or the little metal bands that sometimes are in plywood or in stucco. So after I cut through the stucco, I come back in and do that. Again, not a stucco blade, but you just kind of the idea that you can kind of use these in combination to kind of help your stucco blades last a little longer. Okay? Now, some specialty blades that I think every electrician should have is the blades that are designed. There's usually packs of them now that work in 1/2 inch pipe size, 3/4 pipe size. Like this happens to be a 3/4 pipe size. It's for the hole that it takes up a hole, which is actually 1 3/8. So that's a 3/4 hole for electrical pipe, but it's 1 3/8 size. So these, and then they come in 1 inch. So you'll usually see these in 3 packs. These are the greatest tools ever. I love these. They cut super, super fast. They have the spring in there that helps pop the little piece of metal out. You do have the holes on each side to pop out the piece of metal if you need to. But I really like these when I'm cutting into an electrical panel because it has this ridge around the outside. The ridge allows that when I blow through the wall, let's see if I can show it here, that it will hit that ridge and stop it so I don't jump all the way into the panel and maybe damage some wiring inside. So definitely an advantage. Now where's the next step in this guy? Are these guys. So this is a carbide tipped version. Now these cut really, really fast. I'm going to tell you right now, these last really, really long. But the problem you'll have is that the teeth, because they're wider, take longer to cut. And I definitely recommend, being careful, running in that at a mild, speed, so you're not tearing them up. They're not meant to be ran at super high speeds and tearing through things. This is a metal-only version. It is not meant to be ran in stucco and some of the other ones that we'll kind of get to here. So again, spring in the middle, your bit through the center. I always recommend running these. They come apart. Drill your hole in the center, then put your bit on, and then lock it down, okay? So it actually then drill your hole. So you're not coming in, because what ends up happening, and this is pretty much every hole saw across the board, just a good practice, is to take off and just run your bit in, or if you have a bit, most of these are gonna run 1/4 inch bits in the center, your pilot hole. So a lot of times I keep a 1/4 inch bit on my bags all the time, so I can run it through first, so I don't have that constant jarring of actually when I'm pushing, then it finally breaks through and hits the teeth. A lot of times you'll snap your bits, your pilot bits here. And if you're doing a lot of that and you're trying to figure out why that's happening, pilot hole first, and then use that just as a guide to go through, okay? So that's really important. So keep that in mind, guys. We definitely want to keep that in mind. So when we get up into our next guy here, we've kind of gone over some bimetal. We do a lot of metal cutting in electrical work and in general just in the world today. So you've got your bimetal blades, your carbide tipped blades for metal. These will also work on wood and things like that. Look on the box, make sure you're buying the appropriate one. And then we get into items like wood cutting bits that are actually useful. And that's where I get into these. These are my favorite bits. I love these things. As you can see, they're plenty worn and I wear them out a lot. These guys are awesome. So this is the 3-tipped, sometimes you'll only see one tooth on them for cutting through wood and stucco and block wall and everything else. They don't really work on concrete very well as far as rock wise, but they will cut through stucco, block wall, things like that really well. This particular version will not cut nail impregnated wood though, so you got to watch out for that. But these are so fast. So these are pretty much replaced all my bits for cutting through stucco, because we do a lot of stucco entry in my job. So we're cutting through the stucco. These will also cut through the wood behind it. So most of the time you'll see stucco. You'll see the little mesh that goes in there, the chicken wire. And then behind that will usually be a piece of plywood. This does all of it really well. And it does it super fast. Probably the fastest bit on the market to be able to do that. So again, you're cutting through. A lot of times what I'll do again is cut with a bit for doing stucco, a carbide tipped bit. We'll show you that in our next video here when we talk about more twist bits. And then this will cut right through the stucco, cuts right through the little mesh wiring there, and then goes straight through the wood. It is not designed for cutting through nail impregnated wood. You'll hear that a lot. So that's why you want to buy metal. We might have to come back if we hit, an actual piece of, nails or something like that. We want to go ahead and go back to a bimetal blade to finish that guy out if we hit that going through the wood. So something to think about. So really cool. One feature this guy has that a lot of the other versions don't is that this guy allows you to be able to take, and let's say you've cut a hole this big. Maybe you're doing a electrical panel that has a 2-inch or has an 1.25-inch pipe going through the roof, and you need to widen that out to a 2-inch size. This guy will actually slide down inside and screw in, and now you're able to make you put this in the hole as your guide, because now you can't use just the bit. It allows you here, and then once you've got that inside, you can go ahead and the outside bit will cut. So this becomes your new guide. And it's really kind of a cool feature. You take out there's a little rubber O-ring. You take that guy out and you just slide him right down on top. There's a couple different companies that make tools for this, but this works really well if you're in a bind where you're trying to open up a hole that's already there. You can always use the old plywood trick, but that's kind of where we start out at. So really good for wood, stucco, block wall. Then we kind of get into our dedicated masonry type bits. We have our carbide and our diamond tip. You'll see probably more at your Home Depots, Lowe's, things like that. You're going to see more of the diamond tipped. These work really well in ceramic tile. So if you're trying to cut through ceramic tile, you can actually take the bit completely out in the center. Or if you're getting into more of the stucco world and that's all you're cutting are the block wall and you're trying to cut through some of those harder or concrete walls, these work really well, which are the carbide tipped ones. They're a little bit more aggressive, but they tend to wear out a lot faster than the diamond tipped ones. But the diamond tip ones cut slow, so they're more just on the speed of the ideas. These are not meant to be ran in hammer drills where you're actually going to be pounding them and twisting. These are just meant to be twisted and slowly cut through as they're chipping out the board as it's going through. But these are only for stucco, block walls, concrete type situations, or let's say a situation where you're cutting through sheetrock. Sheetrock, these work really well on. They don't tear up. A lot of these other bits will have hard times with sheetrock. These guys do not. They'll cut through sheetrock like crazy. But if you run into a wall where you're trying to cut stucco, sheetrock, this is a real good idea. They last really well in that area. I use them a lot in stucco. I use them a lot in, if we're doing, like, let's say bathroom remodels where you're dealing with tile. This is always a good idea, or tiles maybe on the outside of the house, or hardy backer board that you'll see on some of the houses nowadays. Again, once we get through that item, that harder material out there, we're gonna have to follow it up to get through the plywood on the outside of the house. That would be with like a bimetal blade or something like a carbide tipped blade for getting through wood. So hopefully this helps, guys. I mean, this is not, we're not going over, there's lots of blades out there, lots of different hole saws out there brand wise, but I'll tell you the biggest thing is picking the appropriate hole saw for the job. You're going to have such an easier day. You won't tear up your blades. I don't know how many times I get guys coming back to me and their bimetal blades look like this diamond blade where they've literally taken every single tooth off. That is because they're trying to cut through something that this was not meant to do, usually stucco. And it will not, I've watched it cut through stucco and just wear out a blade in 10 seconds and throw the thing away, and it didn't even cut all the way through your hole. So keep that in mind, guys. Buy the appropriate hole saw for the job. And maybe you only need that one for your doing, or maybe you do all 3/4 99% of the time. You just need to buy that one. And you notice I've got most of mine that I use for every day at work that are already put in the bit I'm going to be using them in. If I'm going to lock it into a rotohammer, whatever that may be, it allows me to be able to do that. And I have them all set up. Like I keep these in my bags because I know I'm going to be using, most of my stuff is going to be 3/4 and 1 inch, so I keep those on my bags. So as always, guys, have a great day. Like and share. Ask your questions down the bottom. I'm always happy to answer. But have a great day. We'll talk to you later.